Guys, on occasion, I just think it would be appropriate for us to fold our hands, bow our heads, and start the show with a little prayer.
Heavenly Father, we thank you tonight for all your blessings. You said in all things give thanks. So we want to thank you tonight for these mighty machines that you've brought before us. Thank you for the Dodges and the Toyotas. Thank you for the Fords. And most of all, we thank you for Roush and Yates partnering to give us the power that we see before us tonight. Thank you for GM Performance Technology and the RO7 engines. Thank you for Sunoco Racing Fuel and Goodyear tires that bring performance and power to the track. Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa, my two children, Eli and Emma, or as we like to call them, the little E's. Lord, I pray you bless the drivers and use them tonight. May they put on a performance worthy of this great track. In Jesus' name, boogity, 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 amen.
Live from Joe's mom's semi-haunted basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and you think Halloween week is creepy? Try working next to the hot water heater in the basement of an old house. You want even creepier? Failing to communicate with friends, a spouse, or loved ones. Today, we're sharing money communication horror stories with two people who've seen them, Doug and Heather Bonaparte. This conversation will be like an exorcism for your communication demons. In our headline segment, you heard our Stacker Money horror stories on Monday. One publication shares tales of financial ruin that are just plain trashy. And you know what? What's Halloween week without me slipping some sweet Halloween-flavored trivia into your bag? And now, two guys who think the best candy is tax-deferred growth. I don't even know what that means. It's Joe and OG.
Hey there, Stackers. Happy Wednesday. Happy Halloween week. Hope you got your costume on. You got the candy ready. And you know what? Hope you're ready to have some financial nerdery this week, too, because we're bringing it over the next hour. I am Joe Saul-Sehy, and across the card table from me is the one and only, backed by popular demand, OG.
Boogity, boogity, boogity.
I actually watched that race on TV. I wasn't there live, but it was a spectacle. I was like, wait, what? The whole time as he's just going bigger and bigger and bigger.
I like the part where he says, "Thank you for the tires." It was like the ad clip.
Yeah.
It was like the ad read that bring performance and power to the track. It's like, did you read the tagline?
General Motors is going to pay you X amount of money if you insert this into the prayer.
The prayer. Yep.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure his wife had a hand in writing that, too.
That was pre-ChatGPT, folks.
That was a number of years ago. Yeah. You know what, Doug, to your point, his spouse having a hand in writing that. She's like, Lisa, you're just going to say my wife, Lisa? I think it's your smoking hot wife, Lisa.
Right.
I think if you know what's good for you, mister. Yeah. We got a great, and that's bad communication right there. People yelling at each other.
I thought that was great communication.
Well, once they finally got over the hump, it was great. But Doug and Heather Bonaparte are here. Doug is a certified financial planner. Heather is a longtime attorney who just became Doug's business partner. Talk about people that need to communicate. You work with your spouse? Might need to know a little bit about communication. These two know what it's like to be with people that just, their money's not going the right way because their communication's not going the right way. Investopedia has listed Doug Bonaparte as one of the top financial planners in the United States, as they have our own OG, by the way. Just a little humble brag there. So we get to hear from
Scoreboard.
Our own OG, our own top financial planner in the United States. We get to hear from him all the time. We're going to hear from Doug and Heather Bonaparte here in just a moment. Before we get to that, we got a couple sponsors to make sure that we can keep on keeping on. You don't pay anything for all this Halloween week goodness. So we're going to hear from them. And then coming down to Mom's Basement, Doug and Heather Bonaparte. Spring cleaning's made its way to my closet. This time of year always makes me rethink exactly what's in my closet. Really want to keep fewer things, but I also want to keep better ones. I want to feel confident, and to feel confident, looking the part's a big piece of that. So I want pieces that are well made and that are easy to wear all the time. And that's why I keep coming back to Quince. The fabrics feel elevated. The fits are thoughtful. Pricing actually makes sense. As I'm swapping out and I'm cutting, the few additions I'm making all come from Quince. Quince makes high quality everyday essentials using premium materials like 100% European linen. They're insanely soft, flow knit activewear fabric. Their men's linen pants and shirts are lightweight. They're breathable. They're comfortable. Basically the perfect layer for spring. The pants strike the right balance between laid back and refined. If you saw the video of me on stage at Retire Meet, those pants are from Quince. It was really cool. I came off stage and Christine Benz from Morningstar getting ready to go on behind me and said, love your pants. Not generally. I absolutely love them. I think they make me look put together without trying too hard. And they're flow knit activewear, moisture wicking, anti-odor, soft enough that you'll actually want to wear it all day. The best part is their prices. This is important, stackers. They are 50 to 60% less than similar brands. How? Quince works directly with ethical factories, cuts out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality, not brand markup. Everything's designed to last and make getting dressed easy, which is another thing I think we all want. I love those pants that I wore on stage. It's the cashmere sweater that every time I wear it, Cheryl goes, that is my favorite sweater on you. It looks great, feels great, and I don't have to have 50 things in my closet. So, like I am, refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/SB for free shipping and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too. Go to QUINCE.com/SB for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/SB. You may not know that when we started Stacking Benjamins, it was a blog. And even then, just the startup cost, I remember thinking, is this the right thing? And what if I write things and nobody comes, right? Well, luckily, that didn't end up happening. But starting something new isn't just hard. It's terrifying. There's so much work. You're not sure whether it's going to work out. You're not sure if anybody's going to read it. And then we change it to a podcast. Is anybody actually going to listen, right? What if nobody wants all the stuff that we have? Well, had I used Shopify, it would have been even easier because with their expertise, their helpful tools, and their easy to use platform, that's something that would have made Stacking Benjamins more effective much, much more quickly. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Names you've heard of like Heinz and Mattel, Shopify, Gymshark, Aviator Nation, Allbirds, also all Shopify. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store that matches your brand style. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. And did I mention that iconic purple Shop Pay button? It's used by millions of businesses around the world. It's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. It also helps boost conversions, meaning less carts going abandoned and more sales for you. So you're stacking Benjamins much more quickly. Time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/SB. Go to shopify.com/SB. That's shopify.com/SB. It's Halloween week, and you know what that means. Very scary couple coming down to Mom's basement. Douglas and Heather are here. How are you guys?
No, we're good. Hey, Joe.
We're feeling spooky.
Yeah. Halloween's my birthday, so we're not messing around here.
Now, you have two kids. What did they dress up as? They know their costumes yet?
Oh, yeah.
Well, our younger daughter is wearing the costume of the season. She is being a K-pop demon hunter.
She's Rumi, specifically.
Rumi, the one with the purple hair. And then our older daughter is Saquon Barkley from the Philadelphia Eagles.
Wow.
Proud mama. Proud mama.
That's fantastic. And I was going to be a K-pop star, and she stole mine. So there you go.
Doug's going to be a Saja boy.
I'm gonna be a Saja boy from, one of us actually watched the movie here. You can tell which one, but I'm gonna pair up with our younger daughter, be the Saja boy to her Huntrix.
That's fabulous. Well, hey, money-wise, most people are afraid of ghosts and monsters, but the truly terrifying stuff happens, as you guys know, when we try to open a joint checking account, right? Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
What's the scariest money conversation you two have had as a couple?
Oh, that's quite recently, or at least in the last 3 years. We had to make some big changes in our lives around what wasn't working for us and what wasn't working for Heather in terms of her ambition. And ultimately, it led to her joining our now family business, which was kind of always a family business, but Heather leaving the corporate world in law after a 13-year stint, if you will, to join the family business was
Foregoing my corporate salary and our benefits package was a huge deal.
Huge move, probably the biggest one since buying our house, I would say.
How did you work through that together? Because Heather, I can't imagine going from I work for myself, now I work with my spouse. Like there's a whole lot of different dynamics going on there.
Look, I was a corporate girly for a long time, which meant like there were benchmarks and you could either meet them or not meet them, right? And you receive feedback. There's a feedback loop. You find out every year how you're doing, and you either receive a bonus, you receive a raise, or you don't.
They literally give you a review every year.
Working for yourself, and now that I've joined the family practice, and Doug's been an entrepreneur his entire career, I mean, like, talk about a mindset shift. So I had this like scary delusion that the only way I would be able to prove my worth at the firm is if I could replace my salary within a year of being there, which is the most like short-sighted, misguided idea ever.
Told you not to do it.
In entrepreneurship, like that's just not how it works. Like Doug was playing a like a decades-long game to get where he got in his career, and I thought that I could just like throw a few cards against the wall, and within a year I would just be like, right there, I've succeeded. But I think worse than that is really like the sentiment underneath of that, which was my value can only be proven through this set amount of money. And when I decided to forego that money, I began to question my self-worth deeply in ways that I was not expecting. And, part of that was due to my own thinking, but I think a lot of that is societal too. I mean, like a lot of people really did not get it. They're like, wait, so you're retiring from being a lawyer, or like you're going to help your husband, or you're just really staying home, right? Like you're a stay-at-home mom now. Like there were really people that did not understand what we were going to do. And because
family members
really that did not understand what we were going to do. And I did not realize until I left corporate law how much I relied on other people's perception of my career to define my own self-worth. And I really had to work through that. So it wasn't one conversation. It was years of conversations that led us to getting where we are right now.
And that has nothing to do with the work that needed to be put in to learn financial things, right? From P&L of the business to even our own re-examination of our financial lives together. That was all just like,
the feels.
How do we feel? Like
that wasn't even the.
How do we cope with these feelings here that clearly are going to have an impact on our relationship, our family, and everything around us?
Well, and I'm going to ask you to tell some stories about this type of stuff today from your new project on this very topic. You guys make the point of talking about part of it, and especially in a relationship, we might know our partner, but we don't know their culture. We don't know their internal talk. And Heather, I got to imagine that for you, it's got to be culturally where you come from. There must be this, I got to succeed. I got to drive. I got to like, is that built into your family life as you were growing up?
That was inscribed for me in many different ways. I'm an only child and grandchild on both sides of my family. My parents got divorced right as I entered my teenage years. And so the money scripts that I was taught were really flipped upon their head at a very pivotal moment in my life. So I don't know if it's as much what I was taught as to my defense mechanism and my reaction and the way that I came into adulthood saying, I need to make as much money as possible so that I can seek my own version of independence from a lot of the pain and things that I was experiencing in those formative years of my life. There was a lot of that. There was definitely a lot of that. And a lot of my self-worth being tied up in my career had to do with just the way that I came into adulthood for sure.
How's that different than where you come from culturally, Doug?
Yeah, I grew up the son and grandson of serial entrepreneurs. I was taught always bet on yourself and build something and was encouraged to do so. My older brother and I ran many businesses as kids, from fixing computers to hawking stuff on eBay when the internet came around. We were privileged with our technology early on. So that obviously carried forward into my adult life when I chose to build the business for real, to provide for our family and to build a life together with Heather. Of course, there are challenges associated with that. I learned lessons in what overextending yourself or growing too quickly and leverage can do to a family unit, can do to a business, but couldn't create any more stark of a contrast between Heather. I mean, my parents actually got divorced when I was an adult, like when we had our first child together. So I grew up in sunny South Florida in a stable household where dad was an entrepreneur, mom was an elementary school teacher, a learning disabilities teacher. It was like that classic combo of mom had the benefits, had a steady salary, and dad built, a business. And we replicated that.
You did. I was thinking the same thing. You totally had that replicated and you changed it.
It worked, and I do this with you see with clients all the time too. It does work.
It worked until it didn't.
Yeah, until it doesn't.
And I think that is something that was such an eye-opening experience for us in our own relationship. I think it's really easy to believe. You get married, you kind of like set up a way of doing something and you start doing it that way for a long time. Maybe you can reach those, kind of like stereotypical financial benchmarks. Like it's amazing. It's amazing. We could buy a house. We refinanced some student loan debt and we're able to tackle that together. We had a baby. You kind of convince yourself, you're like,
got to figure it out.
This all figured out, right? That is not true. That is not how life works. And I think one of the hardest things for a couple to do is to say, we've been doing something this way for a really long time, and now it no longer works for me. It's not serving me anymore. Not even just not serving us anymore, yes, but I feel a certain way around this. That is an incredibly hard thing to do. It's like an intimate thing to say to someone.
A personally intimate thing. You're not this homogeneous blob of a couple. You're still your own person in your relationship. You do a lot of we do everything together, but Heather's hobbies are not my hobbies. Heather's experience as a child is not my experience as a child. But she has an appreciation for my hobbies as I do her. More importantly, she has an understanding of my feelings and experience from when I was growing up, the decades of learning scripts around money, specifically as much as I needed to learn Heather's same scripts so that I could have perspective, just like she could have perspective.
Do you want to share that story that we know about the couple?
That might be the story I was going to ask you about anyway. Somebody that thought they were getting it right and they had a thing that worked for them until, like you said earlier, Heather, for you two, it didn't.
Until it didn't. So we met a couple who, for very well-intentioned reasons, decided early in their relationship, he was living with her family before they were married. They were financially enmeshed in some different ways, like from a very early stage in their relationship. And they decided that the fairest, which I will put in quote, fairest way to handle this was that they would split everything 50-50. And I mean everything, like down to the studs, down to the...
There was a log.
Well, and I would feel like if I was living with Cheryl's family, just with my upbringing, and, I just think about my dad and thinking, man, you don't do that. Like okay, fine. I need help at the time, but you're going to pay for your freight. You're going to pay for your part of the relationship. And that sounds a little bit like why they did this.
Yes. Well, and there was also, he had offered this because he said that he didn't want her family that had, she came from a different wealth background. Her family was wealthier than the way that he grew up. And when he had moved into their home, it was kind of a joint decision because at the time her father had actually moved out. Her parents were splitting up, and it was mutually beneficial to everyone to have him move into their family home and be like a man in the house.
It filled a gap in a very transitional period.
But at the same time, he wanted to demonstrate to them that he wasn't in it for the money. He wasn't in it for a place to live.
Yeah.
The intentions were really good. They were benevolent intentions behind this. We're going to split everything 50-50. Worked for a couple of years, okay? But as time went on, I mean, they were really splitting everything. They were splitting down to the date night dinners 50-50. They were reconciling it on a spreadsheet for a very, very long time. Turns out that maybe things weren't feeling quite as fair at 50-50 as when they had begun.
Someone was consuming more.
Someone likes to order an appetizer every time they go out to dinner. Somebody gets the second cocktail whenever they, have a plan or go meet friends at the bar. Turns out 50-50 wasn't quite what they had planned. But instead of talking about it and kind of saying, hey, I think at a calm and cool time and place, this all came to a head very late at night after like a drunken night out in Tokyo when they went into a 7-Eleven and he wanted to get a croissant.
It's always the best time, by the way, when I'm loaded to solve our long running problems in my relationship.
The emotions come out.
Get hammered and have it out. That always works well. I think I saw a Dr. Phil episode about how this is the way to solve everything.
Number one psychologist recommended approach to this. Yeah.
Get hammered and fight with your spouse at a 7-Eleven in Japan. That's 100% the way to go about this. But that was the moment that she just exploded. She lost it. And she said, this is not fair. Okay. We've been doing it this way for a long time, and I don't feel like this is fair. And, something that we started to think, like, we're like, well, what is it about that moment? Like, why then? Why the croissant? Of all the moments, right? And then you find out she had some job insecurity. There was a chance that she was going to lose her job, and she was re-examining and harboring a lot of anxiety about money and where that money was going to come from moving forward. But they didn't talk about that. They blew up over the croissant. And so in the sober light of day, they were able to re-examine this and kind of move to a new system that felt more reciprocal. And I think was also like more romantic and left room for romance and doing something kind for somebody else. And I think one of like the best parts of this story that we heard in speaking to this couple on numerous occasions was that kind of like allowing for more fluidity in their finances, allowed for more fluidity in other areas of their life as well. Like it allowed them to pick up chores for the other person without being like, well, it's your job to do the trash, so I just let it rot and sit there when you weren't home.
That's such a great example of why their approach does not work. It's not pragmatic. It is not practical. It does not scale whatsoever. And the thing I took away from it was that you're communicating around money, whether you're saying the thing that needs to be said or not.
That's right.
And it will either break good or poorly. And poorly is when you're not actually doing the work and sitting down and expressing why something is the way that it is or why you feel the way that you do. You end up fighting on the streets of Japan after some teppanyaki. It's not the way you got to go about it.
It's so funny for our stackers who might not be in a committed relationship right now. This isn't just about committed relationships. It's also about with your friends. I remember in college, my roommate, whose name was also Joe, blew up one day because he had bought milk twice in a row. And I just hadn't noticed. But it turned out it wasn't about the milk. It was about, I wasn't noticing a lot of what was going on in our apartment as roommates. And he was keeping score, baby. He was keeping every little score, and I was keeping no score. And I learned I need to keep a little score because it was important. Obviously, it's important to me to make my roommate happy that he's sharing an apartment with me. On his side, he still tells me today, we're 30 years older than we were then. I talked to him about this like 6 months ago. He laughed. He goes, I still can't believe I blew up about the milk. He goes, but it taught me so much that my friends aren't as anal about stuff as I am. And I just sometimes have to relax. Like it was a good lesson for us both.
So I think that's an incredibly important part. You saw it worked out in the end. They actually, from the ashes of their late night argument rose, the phoenix of finding a better way to go about it. And unfortunately, all too often, it takes these very dramatic moments to come back together. It's a test and a testament to relationships to endure that kind of event and say, hey, let's fix it. The bad news is sometimes those blowups actually result in the end of relationships. And it underscores why it's so important to take that proactive stance and to do the work. And hopefully we're going to be able to help people identify these things so that they don't have to get to a moment of crisis to sort these things.
Anyone you love or care about, right? Not just the spouse.
You also remind me of all the situations with friends where someone who maybe is in a better financial spot, they either make more, they come from money, and they go out to the nice meals. And you as the roommate or the best friend are constantly being roped into, whether it's a Michelin star restaurant or something that's just a little too expensive. And you see relationships and friendships struggle because they don't know how to pull their friend aside and say, I totally understand, your ability to afford this. I don't want to get in the way of your enjoyment, but can I share with you why this is a little difficult for me? And maybe next time we can pick a restaurant that doesn't have a tasting menu associated with it.
I remember being a part of that too. All of our friends wanted to do a tasting menu at a Michelin star restaurant in France. Cheryl and I did not want to do it. We weren't in the right mind frame. We didn't care. And we had so much pressure from the other people we were with going, everybody's doing it and they won't do it unless you do it too. And I ended up spending so much money that night that I didn't want to. And by the way, the people that wanted to do it at the end of the meal complained about how bad it was, which made it even worse, made it even worse. But not that I'm bitter about it. It didn't happen like 7 or 8 years ago and I'm still bitter. Not at all. Yeah. You can't tell. Yeah.
This happens to us with skiing. All of our friends ski but us. And I cannot tell you how many people try and convince us to go ski every single year in like a million different ways. And I just said, I am as clear as day. And again, but this is just about setting expectations with your friends, even anyone you care about, being able to say, hey, look, I love nothing more than getting away with your family for a weekend. This is not something that I choose to spend my money on or that I'm really that interested in us doing. We're not cold weather people. It's just not how we spend our money. We would be happy to plan a beach long weekend with you or find something else for us to do. But, you don't have to lay it on thick about the skiing. Like the answer is always going to be no.
Is that the technique? Because we love talking about the tactics and how do you do this stuff? But I noticed in both of your examples that you just gave, that you both offered an alternative. Is offering the alternative, is that the technique?
In a lot of the stuff that we saw, we noticed that it takes just a small adjustment or turning something upside down. I'll give a few examples of this. When you're talking or wish to talk to your partner about money and you're leading with the criticism, what went wrong, what needs improvement, I can guarantee you no one wants to start conversations with the negative. You start with the positive. And particularly around money, we have this propensity to see what went wrong instead of celebrate the win for the week or the month or the quarter. What did you do right? Build upon that, create the momentum. So by the time you inevitably get to the areas that need improvement, you're able to say, hey, listen, good on us. We did some things we needed to do. And everyone's motivated now to attack the things that need the improvement. Little shift right there. You want to have a conversation around finances? I say what I used to do. Can we sit down and talk about this? So first, time and place, right? I would bombard her with something when the kids had just come home from school or it was time to do the dinner stuff. Because I was running up from a meeting, for the last meeting of the day before the meetings of the evening. This is family time. And she would do this to me too. She'll own up to it. It'd be at like 11:30 at night when her Sunday scaries or basically any day of the week scaries would.
I have scaries every night.
Yeah. And, I'd be like, hey, Doug, let's talk about this really critically important thing that's been bothering me. And I'm like tapped out. It's 11:30 p.m. We're trying to, I'm like, why is now the time? So time and place is a big one and how you start the conversation. I would show up with a net worth table and the numbers and the spreadsheets. That is a quick way to have a very unwelcomed conversation. Why don't we start with something we both want? Honey, remember how we said we want to take the kids away for spring break this year? Can we have a convo about that? She had already poured some hot tea and is sitting at the table to have that conversation. I'm motivated to have it. And guess what we're going to do? We're going to do a little back door into, can we look at the numbers to see how we make this happen? Yeah, let's cancel this babysitter. We don't need to see these friends again. We just saw them for someone's birthday party. And before you know it, there's an extra $1,200 or whatever for this thing that we really want to do together. And she and I are now aligned with the numbers as well as what the goals are. So again, all we did was either do it backwards, flip it on its head, and logically think through, well, how are we going to meet each other in a place that allows us to facilitate a conversation? We've been too trained to do things the wrong way for a whole host of reasons.
Yeah, I don't like this. I don't like that. Not a great way to start. And by the way, I love the idea of time and place and also thinking about it from whoever, whether it's a roommate or a partner, your spouse, however, think about it from their point of view. I often know that our money geek stackers we love nothing better than a Camp David summit, Doug, like you were saying, with spreadsheets, graphs, and all kinds of stuff. And it lasts 17 hours. And there's nothing more fun. Nothing would be a horror story for Cheryl, my spouse, than that. She wants nothing to do. But the 20-minute weekly meeting where we go through Monarch together and we look at our finances over pancakes or wine, totally fun. Great, great, great time.
It's really important to embrace this idea that sometimes you just have to meet your partner where they are.
Yeah.
That concept is so important when it comes to money. It applies to other things too, but I think money in particular.
We spoke to neurodivergent couples, for this project. And the biggest takeaway that I had is, yes, meet them where they are. But for one couple, it was get a whiteboard. Like, it was literally drawing things out, because that's how one of the partners learned. So
we learn differently.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was super cool. Or the one couple that figured out the kind of content the other one liked to consume, like dialed into the podcast they would love. Obviously, this one got into which, Instagram accounts really spoke their language. And now they're consuming content that's mutually beneficial around this topic for the household. There's so many opportunities to get into this. It just doesn't need to be the things that, most people find boring or to be a turnoff.
Not only did you talk to a lot of different people in a lot of different types of relationships, you spoke to a lot of experts too. And one thing that this Henry and Chloe situation speaks to was not only did they split everything, but they had the separate checkbooks, right? And so for me, whenever I hear Dave Ramsey bring this up, I generally have rolled my eyes and went, oh God, the most overblown discussion in history. But you actually talked to some people, I think maybe at Indiana University or someplace like that were just some researchers that actually looked at shared checkbook and what that does in a relationship.
Joint banking, right? At least to some extent, even in a yours, mine, and ours situation, does create that teamwork, that element of success. The more you can find a way to collaborate together, the more you can start to really see things as, a team, and you see a future together where you're building towards shared goals. And I think that that's like a great place to start. It doesn't have to be everything all at once. And I don't want anyone to get the impression that we or that Doug sitting down with his clients would say, there's only one right way to do this. And this is the right.
There are best practices, but you're individual people. It's personal finance. That first word's personal.
But yes, when it comes to how we handle our money and where it should be, there is really something to be said about being able to work together as a team from the same pot, because we're not bean counting, right? We're not saying, well, these two are yours, this one is mine. Like, we're supposed to be doing this together. It builds trust. It builds intimacy. It builds a shared future together. I don't know if you're going to get there. And I would even argue too, like, you may think you have it all figured out now, but things change. That's a lot harder to keep up when you start sharing children.
Well, that also brings up the fact that this needs to be revisited, right? I know, Doug, you've been a planner for a long time. They don't call it making a financial plan. It's financial planning, because of the fact that what worked yesterday for Chloe and Henry doesn't work tomorrow for them.
Life is fickle. Man plans, God laughs. And just as Heather and I said previously, like, it was all working for us until it wasn't. And here's the thing about, money in your own life or in your household. It is a game that you have to play. You cannot opt out. Weird, get off the grid stuff, I'm sure, but you cannot opt out. And what is so insidious about it is you can't win the game. You only get to keep playing it, and at different levels, and perhaps not only different levels, but different levels of difficulty. For people who think, like, hey, we've made it, or are so shocked that everything has changed, or maybe a little piece of the thing has changed, that's because it's the rules of the game. That's what you opted in to play. So let's stop pretending to be so surprised and instead focus on the type of communication and pieces you need in place in order to play the game well, so that you don't find yourself, pulling the, Seinfeld scene where they flip the risk board over, or someone, what's it called, crashes out and rage quits. Like, that's probably the end of your relationship if you're rage quitting on money together, right? That's not good. It's the worst thing that could happen.
Rage quitting a relationship with friends is not a great way to go.
The game.
Do not recommend.
The video game. Don't do it.
I find that you call this book Money Together, But a lot of the monsters that we face are in the mirror. I mean, they're right there in front of us. So it feels like, Heather, like it's a two-part game. Like not only are you facing your own demons, but also making sure the person that you're playing this game with knows what you're facing. But it's so hard for us to not just look at those demons, but to tell our partner about that, or to tell our friends that this
Oh,
is
yeah.
what I'm fighting against. How do we overcome that fear? Not the fear that they'll reject us, but just the fear of being that vulnerable with the people around us.
It's a really good question. It's really hard. That's the point. I think that a lot of us have not done the self work to even be able. I think that you have to reach a certain level of comfort and humility and vulnerability with your own story, your own past, and how that presents itself today before you ask your partner to understand it, which is why we talk about it as the hardest work. Like, you are not an enigma that your partner has the onus of figuring out. You need to figure some of that out for yourself first to know who you are showing up as. Like, yes, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to them too. And of course, it's incredibly vulnerable, it's incredibly scary. And it may require the help of outside professionals. You may need
Yeah.
help from a financial therapist. You may need help from a couples therapist in order to kind of lay down a safe zone if you realize that some of these feelings, we touch on feelings like shame. If you are harboring shame from your past around a regrettable financial decision or outcome, and that shame is impacting the way that you treat your money together today, it may not be enough for you to just admit to your partner,
Yeah.
I'm carrying shame about this decision I made from years ago. No, like, we have to start unpacking the way that you can change your own thinking as an individual to show up as the work in progress that you are. It's not easy stuff. If it was, more people would be doing it.
It seems like it's so much juggling. I'm juggling what's going on in my head while I'm trying to be quiet enough to listen to what's going on in my partner's head and the people
That's
around
right.
me's head. It's so difficult. We talked about your beginnings and about how we all have our own beginnings. Certainly the two of you shared. Thank you so much about your beginnings. We talked about mistakes and about how the croissant is really not about the croissant. You also talk about contributions and about power and about risk. Can you guys talk a little bit about those for just a couple seconds about why those things are so important to this project of having money together?
I think a really important goal, probably the most important goal for us, was not just to help couples communicate better around money, but to really create and solidify, calcify that equity in a household, which does require continuous work. And it kind of requires you to reframe the way you think about some things, because we all have a lot of societal scripts, institutional scripts that embed themselves in the way in which we operate in our household.
Over decades.
Decades. And yeah, some of that came from the way you grew up, the way you were raised. But a lot of it is just stuff that we consume today, too. We still consume it through social media. We consume it at work. We consume it everywhere we go. So, how we create that fairness, that equity at home is what you need to really have a sustainable, loving, happy relationship when it comes to not only money, but each other. So for us, contribution was really the heart of this whole thing, right? How do we view contribution? I think traditionally people, you'd say, how do you contribute to your family? And I bet more than half the people would say, I earned this amount of money.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the most classic
And
answer.
It 100% is. I just think that that's, I don't know, I'm 57 years old and I've learned over time that that is like, people that aren't watching our video don't know. I'm looking at, that's a minuscule part. Like contribution is so much more than just but that would, if I was 30, it would have been the first thing I probably would have answered.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think it is important for us to elevate the status of caregivers so that people understand the people who care, which we're all caregivers, right? Caregivers for each other, caregivers for our children, for our loved ones. I think more of us are falling into the sandwich generation now. So it is like more important than ever to expand our definition of what it means to contribute, and that caregivers are providers too, because we want to really honor and value each other's time better.
Correct.
Time is the greatest currency that we have. So it's incredibly important to reframe that. And when it comes to power, that's another really interesting reframe. When we talk about power in the context of a relationship, you probably think, well, which one of us has more of it? Is it me or is it you? You're thinking about only one person. You have to take from one person for me to get more, but that's just simply not true.
That could even be toxic, I would think.
But it's really easy to do, especially like, let's say, for example, like Doug and I grew up together, like we went to college together. So it's very easy to look for competition closest to home.
Yes, usually the first place you go. I know parents that love competing with their kids. I find myself competing with my older daughter because she wants to compete with me. It must be a thing kids do. But when you're competing with your partner, your spouse,
And it's not just competing professionally. You could be competing for time,
energy,
resources.
who gets to do more than whatever it may be. You take a minute, you push back on that, and you realize, wait. This is a team game. We're not the people. We're not the people that should be competing against one another here. Imagine if two small forwards started playing against each other. It'd be crazy.
We really want for people to see not only the individual power that they bring to a relationship, but how this idea of collective ambition, there's going to be a time for you and there's going to be a time for me. And we are more powerful together when we operate this way. That's incredibly important. And I'll let you talk about risk for a sec.
Well, and I love that. Before you talk about risk, on this topic of power, I got really excited at the end of that because it's just reminiscent of this idea Stephen Covey had about families having a mission statement, which I remember when he said that at first, it blew me away. Like, why would our family have a mission statement? He's like, why wouldn't you? You bring home all these things and you're in this group. These are the people closest to you. Why wouldn't your family have some shared value and shared mission? Like, it's so cool using that power for good.
I forget where I heard it. It was definitely a show, but it was family is your team to help you get through life, to help you deal with the challenges of life. So starting to compete against the very people that help you navigate how fickle, how sad, how challenging life can be. Of course, there's so many beautiful things in it, is antithetical to why we're all here in this unit in the first place. And as far as risk is concerned, after you discover yourself and are able to have perspective of your partner's self, and you start to think about what you did wrong or maybe what you did right, and you work your way through it, you get to plotting your future together and how to make decisions together, because Heather's appetite for risk might not be my appetite for risk, and that's going to make things a little challenging when you go into the decisions that inevitably need to be made in order to get to the goals that you have for yourself, whether it's buying that house, financial independence, even sending children to college is a conversation that we have where we don't need to be one-to-one on it. We need to find the compromise in terms of how we feel about what we're willing to do or not willing to do. So risk is extremely important when it comes to moving the ball forward.
And ultimately, it's really important to leave everyone with this idea that no one has any idea what tomorrow will bring. We all like to pretend that we know. But that is, again, like the final reframe here is that we can't predict the future, but we can prepare ourselves for as many ways to get to the place we want to get as humanly possible. There are 10, 20 ways to get to the thing that you both want, not just the way that you originally set out. Being nimble as a couple is such a superpower for getting to where you want to be and to being happy while doing it and removing friction. So that we wanted to leave people with that idea of risk too. Risk in saying, like, I think the greatest risk is not finding out, right? Losing opportunity and regret because you weren't willing to be that nimble. You weren't willing to be that curious about your partner or to find another way to get where you wanted to go. I think that's the greatest risk of all.
When we start to accept the fact that things will not go according to whatever plan you have, as well intended as it may be, you may get to the goal or the end of, whatever it is you were looking for, but your pathway there will 100% not be the way you thought it would be. Putting yourself in a position to adapt is just one of those things that, as Heather said, is the superpower here. So when you are communicating, when you are understanding, when you are reaching for fairness, that is why you say you become an unstoppable financial team, because things that inevitably hit you or you will face can be conquered, can be handled together because you did the work. And that's what creates happiness. And everyone deserves to be happy. I'm with Heather because she makes me happy. I believe the same is true. Our children make us happy.
She'll let you know.
Yeah. Stay tuned. We'll find out after the sales come in. No, but that's what it's all about, right? And no one should be able to argue with that.
The book is called Money Together, and I believe it's available everywhere, correct?
Yes. Anywhere books are sold.
Yeah. You know what to do.
I had one criticism. I wish you guys were passionate about this and educated on this topic. If only you had had those two things.
Ryan,
Like
we're trying, Joe. Listen, maybe 2.5 years of ignoring friends and family was not enough.
Well, thank you for helping us get rid of the monsters and the scary things under the bed that really aren't there and helping us clear those up. Happy Halloween, guys.
Hey there, stackers. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and some people say this Halloween ghost thing is a sham, but some really weird stuff's happened today in mom's basement. First, I don't know what came over me. I accidentally filled the El Camino with, premium gas. Scarier? Just before we hit record today, Joe opened mom's budget spreadsheet and saw rows upon rows of divide by zero errors. Hashtag shiver. OG screamed louder than when I tried to do my own Roth conversion. I'm telling you, it's bad, man. But there was some good news that happened on today's date back in 1692. The governor of Massachusetts dissolved the special court of Oyer and Terminer, which was convened for what purpose? I'll be back right after I try to figure out this mystery. You've heard of the black hole, right? I gotta go help Joe's mom find a Home Depot receipt that's been missing since 1998. She swears she put it in her filing system, which is a black hole of paper called the Tupperware bowl labeled miscellaneous. Don't make me go there.
Dell PCs with Intel Inside are built for the moments you plan and the ones you don't. They're for those all-night study sessions, the moment you're working from a cafe and realize every outlet's taken, the times you're deep in your flow and can't be interrupted by an auto update. That's why Dell builds tech that adapts to you. Built with long-lasting batteries so you're not scrambling for an outlet, and built-in intelligence that makes updates around your schedule, not in the middle of it. Find technology built for the way you work at Dell.com/Dell PCs. Built for you.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
Hey there, I'm Paula Pan. I help people make the smartest money decisions possible.
Do not ever worry about your salary. You need enough to make sure that you aren't in a bad financial position. Once you have that, your salary becomes moot. What matters from that point forward, upside gains. Any type of ownership stake or ownership potential, that's the money.
Remember, you can afford anything, just not everything. Afford anything. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Hey there, stackers. I'm candy corn hater and guy. I got to pause there because the first two candy corns are good. I mean, I think we can all agree. Like two of them, you're like, these aren't bad. You grab the handful and then you're like, I've made a horrible mistake. Anyway, and guy who's a black hole of financial knowledge, Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug.
Black hole of candy corn knowledge.
I think I'm spitting truth bombs here. I've got good news and bad news. The bad is that I have nothing to report about Joe's mom in that Home Depot receipt. The good news is that I just discovered I still have an active AOL premium subscription. And I gotta cancel it. And I've also got Movie Pass. And something called Beef Jerky of the Month. Oh, that explains those little wooden sticks that are piling up over there. I was wondering about that. You were wondering about today's trivia answer. The question was this. Back on today's date in 1692, the governor of Massachusetts dissolved the special court of Oyer and Terminer, which was convened for what purpose? Of course, that was for the Salem witch trials. See, that's what's wrong. Now all those witches are running free and signing me up for AOL Premium. Well, or at least not canceling my subscription. Witches. It's probably the witches. And now, I got to get out of here. Take it away, Joe and OG.
There goes Doug running up the stairs. What a wild piece of trivia.
You're using running in its loosest definition.
Well, the fact that you're still here at the mic is just how slow you run. Big thanks to Doug and Heather Bonaparte for joining us. You know, communication, OG, is the key. They call it the soft skill. And yet, when people are in a relationship and the money's not going the way that they hope that it would, it's generally we're not talking about it.
Nothing gets better by not talking about it. Whether it's health or fitness or money or relationships or whatever the case may be. Burying my head in the sand, that will totally make it better.
That is a great point. I've never once thought, you know what, I'm going to wait to bring this up with Cheryl later. And it just miraculously got better.
It went away. If I just don't address the big elephant in the room, it will get way better. It'll eventually disappear. No, you have to. And being conflict proficient is a skill set too, right? It's like a lot of people are conflict avoidant. That's super easy. But being proficient in, how to deal with that sort of stuff, it doesn't make it any more fun to send that crappy email or to have that tough conversation or, whatever it may be. But quite often it's a lot easier once you get into it. So don't put it off.
You know, what's funny about communication, you're around people for a long time and there's things that they do that end up being the sandpaper in the relationship. And Cheryl and I were talking about this just a couple of weeks ago. Like, what is it?
You're the sandpaper in the relationship?
Turns out it's been me this whole time.
Who knew?
Who knew? The thing that drives Cheryl crazy that I say is, hey, guess what I did today? She's like, I don't like guessing games. I'm never going to guess it. Just tell me what you effing did. Just tell me. Guess what I did today? For me, the sandpaper is when Cheryl goes, hey, don't be mad, but, and we were laughing that when she says, don't be mad, I'm instantly mad. I have no idea what I'm mad about. I have no idea. But when Cheryl says, don't be mad. Oh, okay. All right, here it comes.
I don't know that we have any of those in ours, but from our team standpoint, everybody knows this. When people start out with, can I ask you a question? And then I go,
no.
Yes. Oh. Because apparently you've already asked it. Oh, no, you need to ask another question. Oh, okay.
Oh, that's like that joke. The guy goes to see
Stop, just ask it.
Guy goes to see the lawyer and asks, what do you charge? The lawyer says $3,000 for 3 questions. And the guy goes, isn't that a lot of money? The lawyer says, yes, it is. What's your third question? Right there. Good stuff. All right. Into our headline. I love Halloween week because I get to say words like this, phrases like this. Today's headline comes to us from BuzzFeed. How often during the 52 weeks of the year do you get to say it comes from BuzzFeed? Things people revealed. The headline is, people are revealing how money caused shocking drama in their family. And I'm actually speechless. Of course. And number 6 will make you LOL. These are financial horror stories that people shared.
Speaking of LOL, hold on. Speaking of LOL, I saw this picture the other day, meme or whatever, that said, your brain will automatically translate in your brain WTF, but won't translate LOL. Like when you see WTF, don't you think of the words?
Immediately, yeah.
And when you see LOL, do you think laugh out loud?
No, I just think LOL.
Yeah.
That is weird.
Why is that?
I don't know. That's the end of today's show,
Who
everybody.
Anyways,
we can't do better. Do you think BuzzFeed's going to get better than that? I don't think so.
Made you LOL. See, you just think of the letters LOL.
I saw this one in this list. I'll link to the whole list in our show notes for people that love doing these speaking of black holes, Doug, these black holes of BuzzFeed. What do you think about this idea of ruling from beyond the grave? You know, putting all these stipulations, OG, into your estate plan. My grandfather died in the early 1970s, long before I was born. He left $120,000 to be split among his 6 kids, but with 2 conditions. 1, his second wife was entitled to the interest on the money for the rest of her life. And 2, the oldest and youngest kids were entitled to $500 a year for serving as the executors of the estate until it could be dispersed. My God, did this cause drama. The wife lived another 30 years, which substantially diminished the value of the money. No one said they wanted her to die earlier, but they sure felt that she should give up her claim. But most contentious is that my aunt and uncle each collected about $15,000 in fees and $500 installments. Several of their siblings felt they should deduct their riches from their inheritance, which of course they refused to do. And finally, there was about $4,000 extra after all was said and done. My mom suggested donating it to cancer research, as both their parents died of it in their early 60s. But nope, it became another 6-month fight over whether the executors should get a part of it or whether the other 4 should get a cool $1,000 each. Just ridiculousness.
Well, the interest to the living spouse, that's a very normal part of a trust.
Incredibly normal. And why do they think, by the way, if she was married to them, that she shouldn't get that? I don't understand their problem.
Yeah, maybe a second marriage?
Had to be. Yes, his second wife. But the second one, the fighting with the executors.
Hey, maybe you should have been first or last born, and then you could have been an executor.
You know what, OG? 2 executors here, I think, is the problem, too. I think just pick somebody. Pick one. Don't pick 2. These 2 people are going to fight. They're going to fight every time.
They didn't fight. They got all the money.
That's true. But they were fighting. That is a good touche. That's a good point. Money's torn my in-laws apart. My husband's grandfather and his 3 adult children have been at each other's throats for nearly 2 decades over his money. My husband wants nothing to do with them or the money. His grandfather isn't rich. He just invested well and worked hard. Instead of getting the golden years he deserved, he has to watch 2 daughters disinvite each other from holidays, rip each other on social media, and refuse to see each other. The other is always trying to position herself to oversee the will. There have been ruined dinners, physical altercations, people not speaking for years. It's awful. It's so sad what money does to people.
It happens. That's why you don't tell anybody what you got. Stealth wealth.
What was that?
It was kind of hard when you show up and you're like, hey, can you pick me up from the airport? DFW? No.
No, the private airport.
Yeah, there's a private hangar around the corner.
Yeah.
You'll see it.
I hitched a ride on this Learjet. Remember a few years ago, speaking of stealth wealth, that guy who had the brilliant idea, OG, he said, I don't want my relatives to know how much money I have. I don't want them to ask me for money.
So I'm going to ask them for money.
So every time I go to Thanksgiving, I ask them to borrow money if I can borrow money.
Yeah.
So good.
There you go.
How about this horror story? Our mom blamed us for her gambling addiction, saying that we abandoned her. How's that for a first sentence? We stopped talking to her only after we found out that she wiped clean all of her and dad's savings and the money entrusted her by her dad's sister. She also blamed our dad for it because she said she knew he was cheating on her. They had to sell all of their property to return the money to our aunt. It took a year to resolve the issue and help everyone to get back on their feet financially and mentally, only to learn that she, quote, borrowed money, invested the money on a farming business with the intention of keeping the gains from a cooperative where she's, remember, was tasked with keeping the money safe. I've seen this in my own family where you have a relative who, you know, OG, is stealing money, is just stealing money. And what do? You know, in fact, in this case, the person that was being stolen from knew they were being stolen from. And another relative said, well, it takes 2. You know, why does she get access to the checkbook if, you know, she's going to steal the cash?
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that.
No. Painful. These are all painful. Halloween horror stories. We'll link to these on our show notes at stackingbenjamins.com. Doug, time for us to mosey out on the back porch. What do we got brewing today?
Yeah, see what you did there. Brewing.
The only thing I was going to bring up is we got a great review very recently regarding episode 1747 from Just Some Guy, literally the name of the poster, Just Some Guy NYC. So it's just some guy in New York City. That narrows it down. Thanks. I think we'll find you. And the whole review is just the title. And it says, OG was insufferable on this show.
Oh, boy.
I especially appreciated that insufferable was 2 words in the title. He was insufferable.
I had so many people write to me about episode 1747 and how much they enjoyed it.
You want to remind everybody what we talked about?
1747 was the show where our headline was about gold prices hitting all-time highs. And so many people told me that that was a show. And it was a show. I think I think we could
Apparently I was
definitely
insufferable. So
we
I'm
could
sorry.
definitely say that we had a show.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, just some guy, that's maybe one of the best compliments you could have offered OG. He's got a smile ear to ear right now. Yes, success. I was insufferable.
Doug poking him again. Yeah, good stuff. Thank you so much.
So much better than being sufferable.
Right.
For the kind review.
If you're going to do something, do it really well.
Yes, please.
Be intolerable.
They used to say that about Norm Macdonald, Doug, that, when Norm Macdonald would be doing this set and the joke wasn't going over, he could feel the audience starting to turn because it wasn't going over, and he would just lean further into it. And he's like, oh, you think this is bad? I can make it really, really, really bad.
And a lot of people try that. Not everybody can turn that from being really bad into funny like Norm Macdonald could. Like, we try it all the time. Just leaning in. And rarely does it turn that corner to finally being funny for us.
Well, I can't wait to hear in a future Back Porch OG what it's going to be like at Disney this time of year. If the park's packed or if it's going to be really fun.
We've been there many times this time of year. This is kind of the time we would normally go with the kids when they were younger, and it's going to be great. Yeah. It's also the Food and Wine Festival at Epcot. So
fabulous. Yeah, those festivals at Epcot. I'll be at Dollywood. They are doing a festival at Dollywood, the Fall Harvest Festival, which should be fun too.
It's not the Balloon Festival.
Does Dollywood have a balloon? Pivot. Time for us to pivot.
Insufferable.
Doug, quick, get us out of here, man. What are our top 3 things we need on our to-do list today?
Well, Joe first, take some advice from Doug and Heather Bonaparte. While things happen to you, it's the stories you tell yourself that can create a struggle. What horror stories might you be telling yourself? Second, and also from Doug and Heather, how are the people around you thinking about money? I can guarantee it isn't the same way you're looking at it. Take some time and find out. That'll clear up some confusion. But the big lesson? Don't even talk to Joe's mom today. Don't even. She'll share the creepiest story of all. She's thinking about starting a podcast about extreme couponing. Thanks to Douglas and Heather Bonaparte for joining us today. You'll find their new book, Money Together, wherever books are sold. We'll also include links in our show notes at stackingbenjamins.com. This show is the property of SB Podcasts, LLC, copyright 2025, and is created by Joe Saul-Sehy. Joe gets help from a few of our neighborhood friends. You'll find out about our awesome team at stackingbenjamins.com, along with the show notes and how you can find us on YouTube and all the usual social media spots. Come say hello. Oh yeah, and before I go, not only should you not take advice from these nerds, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamin Show.
I love this newish studio that's out. I've talked about these guys before, Angel Studios, where they make these films that are meant to just bring people together. I really like the one, if you guys remember, about Mother Cabrini in New York City.
I can't watch it yet. It's nowhere unless I pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And they do make you pay for it if you don't catch it in the theater, man. They got this whole system.
I want to see that. I've remembered you really recommended that highly, and I'm annoyed that I can't. I'm already paying for a streaming service. I'm not paying again.
I know. And yet another one. The second movie I saw was nearly as good. I didn't like it as much, but I liked it a lot. And it was the young women in Afghanistan, if you remember, who wanted to work on computers and who got into this robotics competition. And that was really a good feel-good movie. The third movie, this movie is not definitely not a feel-good movie, but it is every bit as important as those movies. And it's called Truth and Treason.
Hitler's twisting the truth beyond recognition. Straight off the wire, we report the truth, not the propaganda spoon-fed to you by your leaders. Gestapo terror must not remain unatoned. This concludes our broadcast for this evening.
Can you keep a secret?
So this is a true story of a 16-year-old kid and his friends. He is a Mormon in Germany, and he watches a friend of his who is Jewish get taken away. And he decides that he's going to do something about it as a 16-year-old. It's in Hamburg. It's in the early 1940s. And it's the story of him deciding that he's going to type out all of these messages after his brother, who was a German soldier, comes home and he has smuggled into Hamburg wireless radio, which is illegal. You're not allowed to hear anything that doesn't come directly from the government. So he gets the wireless radio. What you heard at the beginning was him listening to the BBC and hearing the other side of the story and realizing that they were being lied to. And so he decides to create these flyers. And it's his story and the story of the SS officer who is investigating and is trying to find him and is trying to figure out who is creating this act of treason against the Third Reich. It is a pins and needles movie. I looked at my watch 3 times, not because I wasn't in the movie, but because I didn't know how much I could take. I'm not that into just suspenseful, edge of your seat, realizing this was a true story kind of movie. But it's a movie. It was an important movie. It's a movie I think we all need to see. It was really, really, really very compelling. Yet another Angel Studios movie that I like. So if you get a chance to see Truth and Treason, highly, highly, highly recommend it. You guys have been watching a show that I'm actually ashamed that I've not started watching the show yet. Season 3 of The Diplomat just came out on Netflix.
It did. Are you watching it, OG?
I haven't turned on season 3 yet. No. Hopefully I'll get some airplane time here this week.
Yeah, we started watching it. We're, I think, 3 episodes in, and it's fantastic. It's better than I remember. There was a long break. It seemed like a long break between season 2 and season 3. And so the recap was, usually I skip right past the recap. So I'm like, I need to go back and watch that recap because I forgot some important things, but it was really good. I'm actually, because thank God it's one of those shows that you can stream all the way through all at once. You can binge. You don't have to wait like a caveman every week for a new episode to come out. I got to just churn through the rest of it because it's super good.
I either want it all at once, Doug, or I want you to do it week by week. I think the stupid thing Netflix does where they will release the first half of the series and then make you wait. Because if I got to wait and just make it once a week, there's a little bit of a, I don't know, deliciousness to that where I'm like, ooh, it's Thursday night. The new thing's
Wednesday,
coming out.
It's time for the new show.
Yeah, I like that. But the problem I have when you release the first half of the season and I binge all those, then I got to wait like 8 weeks. What the hell?
Oh, if it's that long of a gap, I agree.
I still haven't watched the last 5 or 6 episodes of Yellowstone.
Just because they did it that way.
Because it came out like the first half. It was, I think there was a writer's strike maybe or something that happened. And so they didn't intend to do it that way, but they did. And then the contract with Kevin Costner and all that sort of stuff went up. And so you knew what was going to happen. And now I've seen enough clips on YouTube and stuff that I have pieced together. Basically I know what the ending is. I just haven't watched it, but I'm just not invested in it anymore to go back and say, exactly how did they piece all this together? I'm sure it was great, but there was a year space or 10 months or whatever it was between the first half of season 5 and the back half of season 5. Yeah, whatever. Next.
Last week, I loved, last year, there was a new series that was out, which was Kristen Bell and Adrian Brody. Nobody Wants This. And that was a good comedy. I really enjoyed that. She's agnostic and he is a rabbi, and nobody wants the two of them together. They get together, and I thought it was a really good first season. That came out last week. There's a bunch of other stuff coming out too. Some of the movies coming out now. Of course, why is it that I feel like 40 of the weeks of the year, there's no really good movie, and then all the great ones come out at the same time, and you miss half of them because of that.
Yeah. I still haven't seen the second half of the last Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah. Very good.
Dead Reckoning Part 2.
Enjoyed it.
Oh, I'm sure. I know Doug has never seen any Mission Impossible movie. So
I haven't.
It's worth a weekend. You know, you get the winter time and there's nothing going on. Like you can go Friday, Saturday, Sunday and just binge all, what are the 12 of them or something?
Yeah, man. Go ahead and start from the beginning.
You'll piece it together. There's some crossovers that happen later.
I really should. I'm sitting there scrolling, looking for the thing to watch. It just never pops into my mind. Oh, we should start on the whole series.
I saw a preview while I was in the theater watching the Angel movie that I just mentioned, Truth and Treason. And it's for the new Brendan Fraser movie. Have you guys seen the trailer for the new Brendan Fraser film?
Is it just as uplifting as Whale?
It is. And by that, I mean, it seems a little uplifting, but still it's another, I'm going for the Oscar movie. Definitely that. But he is an out of work actor in Japan, and he goes to work for a company where his job is to act like he's a member of the family. He's a rental part of the family. And the movie's called Rental Family. And so it shows him in these different scenes, pretending he's a husband, pretending he's a boyfriend, pretending he's a family friend. He goes up to this young girl and says, hi, I'm your dad. And the girl obviously gets mad and is like, you left us when we were young. He's like, what do I do with this? So Rental, it looks so good. I'm excited about seeing that, but not if it's as deep as Pit of Despair as The Whale. The Whale was kind of a bridge too far for me. I remember, Doug, when that came out, I was so excited to see The Whale. And then I watched it. I got 2/3 of the way through and I was like, oh my, this thing starts off depressing and just gets worse.
Yeah. It's like what was it? Leaving Las Vegas, where Nicolas Cage is just basically trying to drink himself to death. And you're like, oh my God, just get on with it.
I do remember feeling bad during the Doors movie because, Jim Morrison is going to commit suicide at the end. And it's the only movie I've ever walked out of. I'm like, oh my God, please die. Just please. It was horrible.
Wow.
Just because you knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Not good.
Well, that's a fun way to end the week.
There it is. You know what? Let's end this on a fun way. What have you seen, Stackers? What movies have you seen? Let's add some Stackers to the after show. StackingBenjamins.com/voicemail. What's your review of a movie?
That would be awesome. Why haven't we done that before?
I don't, because look at us.
We're not that bright.
We are not.